Hey, I'm Jeff Baumgartner with Light Reading. We are in Philadelphia at the SCTE Cable Tech Expo 2022, and we're also inside this pretty kick-ass rig. So first, tell me where we are. What is this?
This is my private bus.
Okay.
So this is how my wife and I travel around the country. I do it for meetings and business, but also for family and to be able to spend time with my grandkids.
Awesome. Well, you got to do it in style.
Got to do it in style. It allows me, and I can work from anywhere.
Nice, yeah, because you got your podcast studio in here and everything.
Yep, I have satellite Starlink for the broadband when I'm on the road.
Oh, you're all set.
I'm set.
Okay. Well, the reason why we're connecting now is you guys, CableLabs, you just announced the winners of the 10G challenge, right? And I think there were 6 winners, and I think I was looking through the list. There's quite a few that have connections into the medical field. So yeah, explain kind of how that worked, or give us a sense of who came forth and took down the win here.
So we had 4 categories plus then viewer's choice, popularity vote, and then the grand prize winner. So yeah, 6 total winners across work, live, learn, and play. And we ended up, for some reason, with a lot of the healthcare, a lot of the medical ones in there. And that was kind of interesting. But I also think it also highlights the benefit of 10G in the medical field, because you're moving lots and lots of data with the imagery work. And so we saw everything from education of nurses, how do you do that, particularly in remote areas where they don't have broadband services, and 10G's push into rural broadband, and also how to, the grand prize winner, MetaView, winning around how do you do specialists engaging with remote patients to give them better diagnosis for cancers, and how to improve their likelihood of survivability and the ability to get to experts that they just never would be able to get the advice from.
Wow. Well, I think you brought up the data element, right? The 10G is also about low latency, and I guess that probably fits right in with some of the medical examples, but also I saw there was like an IoT related thing, like out in the farm.
Right, that was Farm Cloud. So this was, the challenge with remote agriculture, is the issue around the whole problem of how do you manage the repairs and keeping your equipment up, right? It's not like you can run to the corner gas station when you're remote and you're running on big farms. So the IoT solution was kind of interesting. It's a very young company, just getting started, but coming out of the personal experience of its founder about how do you deal with, or how do you manage farm equipment, in this case tractors, to be able to keep the gear up and running. And it was a very unique kind of an idea, but again, it's not, in that case, it's not a huge amount of data, but what it is about cloud-based analysis, capture the data, and then using your artificial intelligence to predict break fix, so you can do proactive maintenance on even farm gear.
Wow. So a lot of different use cases, and I think that was one of the reasons for the 10G challenge, right? Because I think when we start talking about 10 gig symmetrical and low latency, it's like, okay, well, what is that going to be used for? And I mean, that was part of the reason for this, right? To get a flow of ideas in here to kind of explain, hey, here's what we were thinking about doing. I mean, that was the purpose, right?
Exactly. It was all about how do we encourage innovators to really think about what it is they're going to do with something like a 10G network. And we talk about 10G from the standpoint of speed, but it's also around capacity. In fact, a lot of the cases we see for gigabit, multi-gigabit services today isn't about sustained speed. It's more about, I need to move big files. I'm using
like a burst.
X-ray machine, X-ray imagery, which can be very, very large. Now people say, well, medical imagery, you can just de-res it. Well, technically you can't, because you need that resolution. You need the data for the specialist to be able to look at it. And there's certain legal requirements and that, so you're moving massive size. Every image of an X-ray or an MRI is a huge amount of data. So you don't need it for sustained speed. You just need it for the burst piece. So the tonnage, as we say, how much tonnage can you move? But the latency is critically important, particularly when you're interacting with two doctors over many, many miles with a patient in the room and wanting to look at the data. We've all seen the remote surgery examples that have been out there for quite some time. So yeah, those taking advantage of it, and security becoming more important. And with the HIPAA rules and regulations,
Right.
you know, that's one of the keys on the 10G with the security piece.
Security, right?
Is how do we protect the subscriber data?
Interesting. Well, you had a great group of 6 winners. What did you think of the field that came in, right? Because there was an amount of time in which you were out there promoting that this was out there and welcoming entries. Can you give us a feel of that part of it in terms of the interest in competing?
Yeah, it was interesting. We got a good cross section of submissions across all the categories. Submissions had to be in by July 1st, and so that's when we started judging. And we had the 4 judges. So we had Corning on the work category. We had Mayo Clinic on live, which is kind of aging in place, healthcare, those types of things. Learn, we had as an example, we had Zoom and Play. We had Intel. So we had 4 partners that also assisted in the judging of it, and we had a really good cross section. But it was interesting though about the thread of healthcare that kind of was weaving through, both in Learn and Live being the two categories that there was a lot of healthcare. And I think some of that is just the work that's going on in that space. But I also think we saw some of the submissions coming in that were triggered by people's experiences during COVID.
Oh, is that right?
I think you look at like the training programs, AR, VR training that allows for remote students in the really rural areas to be able to take nursing classes without needing to go to class. That's hard, right? How do you do clinicals if you're a nursing student? Because COVID prevented a lot of those activities from happening. So I think we saw some of the interest in being able to do things, particularly in remote rural areas, as a result of COVID.
Wow. Now, one of the last things I wanted to ask you about too was, what do they get for winning, right? Because they're getting promoted, they're getting some kudos, but there was some cash attached to it too.
There was cash attached to it. So winners of each of the 4 categories got $50,000 each. The winner of the Choice Award, which was the popularity, everybody got to vote, anybody voted, whoever got the most votes won, that was $10,000. And the grand prize winner got $100,000. And it was a non-dilutive, non-equity prize. So they can use the cash any way they want. CableLabs takes no equity, no interest in the standpoint of wanting to control them. Our hope is that they would use the monies to promote and take their products and technologies forward and bring them to market and have an impact. It's a way for us to kind of give back also, but to encourage startup early stage companies in a kind of a different way than a typical incubator or accelerator approach, letting them kind of run their own race, but maybe give them a little bit of a boost here down the path.
Okay. And there was a lot of good ideas, and I'm sure there's a lot more. So to put you on the spot a little bit, is this going to be a continuous thing, or is this like, hey, this is one-off, we got to just show some really good use cases and some innovative ideas, or is that TBD?
Well, it's TBD a little bit. We won't do one this year. Okay. I think, one, because I think we kind of burned through a pretty good stack of ideas that people submitted, and we'd want fresh ideas. So there's a lot of things, as going on in the industry, next generation. We've got DOCSIS 4 coming out, coherent optics technologies are just now becoming commercially available on point-to-point. So we're going to use possibly some of those triggers to trigger a future challenge. There won't be one this year, but stay tuned.
Okay. Well, Phil, it was great to actually get a chance to see you again here at the show. Safe travels in the rig, and we'll definitely be in touch. Good to see you.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right.
Take care.
All right.